Hello, how you doing? Justin here. Welcome to my new DVD, which is really useful strumming techniques. We're obviously going to be talking about strumming in this DVD. We're going to be going right from the very beginner, the most basic strumming ever, and we'll take you through a few different techniques like your eighth note strumming, using ties, using a little bit of percussion, how to work in your strumming with your chord changes and stuff like that. So there's going to be a whole range of different techniques that we kind of talk about during this course. Really important things to realize is to make sure that you get the basics right before you try any of the harder things. Strumming really needs to be built on a solid foundation, so make sure you get that down. Also make sure that you understand each step of the way, the kind of the theory kind of side of strumming. It's not very difficult, so you shouldn't be having too much grief with that, but just make sure you get that nice and solid. What sort of pick should you use for strumming? Okay, I use 3 different types of picks depending on what it is that I'm playing, and I'll tell you the brand and all of that sort of stuff. For electric guitar, which I'm not going to be playing in this DVD, but the techniques are exactly the same, I use a small Jim Dunlop pick called a Jazz 3, and it's very, very hard, a very solid pick. It doesn't bend at all. And for electric guitar, that's a really good idea because most of the time you're kind of picking out individual notes and stuff. It's okay for strumming on electric guitar, but I would never strum on acoustic guitar. It doesn't have any click. It kind of sounds a bit dead to me on an acoustic guitar. So if you play electric guitar, you might want to check out using your regular heavy pick. If you play acoustic guitar, you almost certainly want to go to a lighter pick, a thinner pick. Now there are 2 types that I use. I use this. They're all Jim Dunlop, I think. This one's called a Tortex, and it's 0.60 millimeters. And this is it's flexible a bit, but it's not hugely flexible. Yeah. And I use this when I've got to do strumming, and I might want to do some single line stuff as well, like picking out the bass notes and stuff. So later on in this DVD, when we get into talking about strumming as well as hitting bass notes, then you probably want to get something around this thickness. Patterns. The very first one now, 4 down strums. When we're doing a strumming pattern, I'm going to count you 3, 4 in. So I'll go 3, 4, and then we start together on the 1. So it's going to be really straight, simple, just down strums, E chord. Here we go. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just keep it going. Try and keep your beat really steady. It's really important. 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Try and feel like your down strum and your up strum are even, not jerking up. Don't go down. Try and keep it so it's almost like a pendulum. Now we're going to move on to pattern number 10, which takes that same pattern of down, up, miss, up, but then we put a down beats again on 3 and 4. So we have 1 and miss, and 3, 4. Down, up, miss, up, down, down. Have a look at your notes, you'll see it there quite clearly again. This is another really, really common rhythm pattern. This is of course putting the tie between the and that came after 1 and beat 2 is the one that we're missing. So let's have a little go at this one now. Again, back on our fancy old E chord. Here we go. 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 3, 4. Before we do any more new strumming patterns, I want to talk about a few things that a lot of beginner guitar players struggle with, and actually some intermediate ones as well. The predominant thing here is how to mute unwanted strings from your chords. Now, those of you familiar with the cage system might understand already that there is actually only 5 shapes on the guitar, and everything is really a variation of one of those shapes. So what I'm going to talk about is the different chord shapes and what strings you have to mute and what ones you don't. So I'm going to go through them in the caged order. So we're going to start with C. Now, if you're playing a C chord regularly, it's quite likely that you're going to hit this low E string, the thicker string. And that's not a good sound really. I mean, it's not horrible because it's actually a note in the chord, but it's probably not the bass note that you want. You probably want C as being the bass note. So you've got 2 or 3 options here really. The first one is if your thumb is over. Now, when I teach this stuff, normally I teach people to try and get their thumb around the back, which is the correct way to start when you first start playing. Because as you start to get a little bit more fussy about what notes you're hitting, it's very common for your thumb to kind of sneak around to the top of the guitar, and you'll find that just pushing it down just a little bit will be, because it only has to touch ever so lightly, and that string will be dead. And then even if you strum all the strings, that thickest note is not heard. Now, I'm going to tag on this little bit of extra information for you, even though it's kind of a bit more of an advanced idea, but I know that it's something that I'm going to get questions about if I don't answer it now. So, I mentioned already that there's these 2 types of strumming, an 8th note strumming and a 16th note strumming. Now, 8th note strumming is what we've been doing through this whole video so far. So we're talking, the reason it's called 8th notes is because there's 8 notes in the bar, or 8 possible strums. You think we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That makes 8. Yeah, the 4 beats and the ands in between each one. Now, 16th note strumming has all of the same principles. All of the same. The continuous hand movement, the whole thing. It's just twice as fast because you have 16 available strums in a bar instead of 8. And it has quite a different effect to it by doing that. And now, my favorite example of that, actually, I'm not allowed to play any songs, so I'm not going to be able to show you that, but if I just do a C chord here, now if I do it as 8th notes and go 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and, which is 8th note strumming. If I start again with that, but then I'm going to change and do all of those 8 strums, the same tempo, but with all down strums, and have a listen to how much more it moves the piece. Even, again, it's the same, like if I wrote the rhythm down, it would look the same, but one of them I'm thinking 16th notes, which is meaning I'm doing 8 down strums in a bar, and one of them, when I'm thinking 8th notes, I'm just thinking of 4 down strums in the bar. So here's the 8th notes. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And now the 16th notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And you can hear it really picks it up. I'll do that one more time. Here's the 8th notes. And here's the switch. Really it moves things along better when you're doing 16th note strumming if you're doing like rock and roll tunes.